Welcome to the Smart Property Investment Show with your host, Phil Tarrant.
Good everyone, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you're getting set, getting ready for the silly season, which is now just around the corner. I was looking at my diary just yesterday trying to work it out for December, and it's pretty mad at the moment. There's more Christmas parties I can poke a stick at, but it's a good time to get out and about and chat to people, and obviously one of the conversations everything always defaults to is property and property investment and what I do for a living. Most people know, so they always ask me what I think about particular markets, and my typical answer is I don't know. Speak to the experts. But it is an interesting time in property, and I enjoy speaking with investors at all these different events I go to. I get a real kick out of it, particularly if they tune into the Smart Property Investment Show. And we love the feedback. It's good to know that we're making a difference to property investors right across Australia. Often the feedback we get is just thanks so much for tackling that particular question, or thanks for clarifying something because I didn't really understand it, and because of it, they've made more informed investment decisions. So that's what we're all about. We want property investors to be better at investing. We have no agenda here. We have no particular way we want you to think about property. It's completely up to you. You need to invest your time, effort and energy into becoming a better property investor. So listening to the podcasts is a very critical way to do that. But you also need to be leaning on the experts in this sector, your property A team. You've probably heard us talk about this quite a lot. These are your buyer's agents if you use one, your accountants, your mortgage brokers, financial planners if you use one of them. These are the people you can lean on to make sure that you are making the best decisions, and the best advisors are the people you pay for. So always question how you're paying for advice, and if you're getting some of it for free, question why you think it's for free. But anyway, I'm not going to dwell on that today. I'm going to have a chat with Rob Martin. He's in the studio. He's come in to have a chat about his portfolio, which I think is, instead of going north, it's going south. He's sold a couple, so we'll get into that and reasons why. He works within the property investment space from a company called Rethink Investing. You might have heard of him before. He actually works on property acquisition, so he's the bloke that buys a property. So we'll try and touch on that towards the back end of the podcast and get some inside tips and tactics on how you can acquire property more effectively. Rob, welcome. How are you going?
Very good, thank you.
How are you seeing the world at the moment? Are you pumped about being in property and being a property investor, or are you nervous and concerned?
There's a lot of the media you do read, and you do feel like times are a bit tough, but I do think right now it's still good buying, just depending where you look. I think
it's a great time to be in property. It's always a great time to be in property.
Always.
If you can afford to be in property, is what people say. So let's have a chat about your portfolio. Where are you based? Are you a Sydney guy?
Sydney, Northern Beaches.
Okay.
So I've lived there my whole life.
So born and bred Northern Beaches. Where in Northern Beaches are you?
Narrabeen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used to live up that way once upon a time, or just
when it was known as Narramata.
Where was I? Eleanor Heights.
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
idea was that I'd go surfing every morning, and I never went.
No.
So I got sick of the hour plus drive and that hideous road, which is Wakehurst Parkway.
Yeah, and Military.
And Military Road. So I'm over all that, and I live close to work now. But you've always been up that way? Do you own property up that way? Is that where you've been investing?
My first property I bought was in Narrabeen.
Well, that's a nice segue into your first property. I was going to go that way. So you bought your first property in Narrabeen?
Correct, yeah. So emotional purchase, lived there my whole life, know everything about Narrabeen, and being a beach person, I bought across the road from the beach, 50 metres.
Oh, yeah? Whereabouts?
So, Ocean Street, so just up from the Sands, if you know that.
I know the
pub
Sands. Yeah. South Narrabeen. It's good.
That's it.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time in the water in South Narrabeen, but and also the Sands back in the day. It's a bit fancy these days.
It is. They're doing a little bit of a reno there.
Yeah. So on Ocean Street, would you buy a unit, I imagine?
2-bedroom unit.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason being it was, like I said, emotional purchase, but it was 50 metres across from the ocean. The two apartment blocks either side of it were brand new. They'd gone up. They'd paid for their wires to go underground.
Oh, they did that, did they?
Yeah, so we've got
you're on the west side of the road, right?
West side of Ocean Street.
Yeah, okay.
But with nothing in front of us.
That's good because there's a park there in the
correct.
and the there's a South Narrow Surf Club.
Exactly.
There.
So
okay.
right there. So
all right,
park,
I can visualise it. It's a red brick.
It's white brick, but it's been rendered since.
Okay.
Yeah, so 69 build. So that double brick, it's going to last another 50
no
plus
lifts.
years. No lifts, no swimming pools, nothing. So just standard. Might not be the prettiest, but for me, structurally it's sound. It's a great property in that sense.
And what's probably about 8 or 10 units in there, is there? Or
12 units.
12 units.
Yeah.
So you know the block. I think everyone can picture it visually.
Yep.
You know,
I think everyone knows it now. Yeah.
So are you on the street side or the back or the back
Street side, looking over the ocean.
Okay, so you can see full views of the
Got
oceans
full
there.
view from basically South Narrabeen all the way to Longreef.
That's really cool. How much you pay for that?
612,000 in 2012.
Okay, I reckon you've probably done all right with that. What do you think it's valued at now?
Well, actually, it's interesting. Last year we had it valued at just shy of 1.1.
Okay.
This year it's come in at 1.052. So it has come down just a little bit.
Yeah. It's 50 odd grand or so.
Yeah.
So why have you got it valued sort of so quickly and close to each other?
In that sense, I'm always looking at loans, just checking what the best is. Big reason why is my brother and I, when we first bought the property, so that one's actually a 70-30 split. And the reason being is we got probably some bad broking advice from day one, and we actually guarantor each section. So we're actually looking to find a loan where we can
take the own part yourself.
Correct, which is very difficult.
So the problem is that even, are you the 70 or the 30?
I'm the 70.
Okay, so for him it's probably even worse. So
Exactly.
when he would be,
he's been restricted to one other purchase since.
Because they would deem that the whole debt is he's responsible, even though he's only responsible for 30%. So he gets 30% of the upside of the equity, but he takes on 100% in
Correct.
paper
So
of the
300
debt.
grand technically, if you round it up, is his, and he's got to guarantor another 700 portion, which, you know, it's something I wish we never did, but at the time we were
the
unaware.
right thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's a really good point when you're getting finance, particularly in co-purchasing, when you look at it that way, irrespective of what ratio you might have it structured, you're still responsible on paper for 100% of the debt. So it can really impact your serviceability. So you got to get the right advice. Have you ever thought about just buying his bit out? And
It's just a stamp duty you look at, and it kind of just, sometimes it means a bit overwhelming, but being recently married, we have thought about taking on that extra little bit, and I think, you know, that's something we will look to do. Obviously fairly, because it's my brother as well. So,
well, when you look at it though, you've got, say it's valued at $1 million. Yeah, you've still got $400,000 in increase in equity. So 30% of that, it's a nice deposit on something, right?
100%.
You know,
yeah,
that's cool. Is he got the appetite for doing that, or do you think you'll sort it out, or is he like, no, I love the place so much? And
a little bit of both. He's a little bit tentative in that side. He likes to keep his foot in that one, but he's about to go into a new business. He's an architect. So it could be something on the cards. And I think it would be worthwhile for both of us.
Yeah. It sounds like the sort of property you'll never sell.
No, I don't think so. It's something that we've always talked about our mum moving into later. So she's in Narrabeen as well.
Yeah, that's perfect. Are you ground floor? Oh, you've got a view. You must be up a bit.
Yeah, so we're first level.
Okay.
Just
so
above,
one set of stairs and stuff.
Garages below, and then, one set of stairs. And then there's one other above us.
Okay. And are you renting it out now, or when are you guys living in it?
No, I actually live in there with my wife.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've lived there, and we've been there for a few years now. Had done the full renovation on it as well. So it was originally all like the vermiculite ceiling, very old school.
Yeah, everyone knows it. Yeah, if you don't.
So now we've got the drop ceiling, all that kind of stuff in there, and that was a nice added little boost with the equity as well.
So did you live there for a while with your brother?
No, brother never lived in it. I moved in. We rented it for 1 year or so. And it was a bit of a party house, we got told, so it was a reason to get them out. But nothing was broken. Then decided to move in. It was, my time to try it out. And just had a mate move in with me for a few years, a couple of years, yeah.
Yeah. And so do you pay your brother the 30% of what the rent is?
Correct.
The deemed rent?
Exactly. We went and got a rental appraisal, did it that way. And we pay him 30% of that portion.
Oh, great.
Works
Sounds
out
like a
well.
good plan.
Yeah.
And so that was your first property. How many properties in your portfolio now?
6 now.
Okay. So I guess that's your principal place of residence.
It
sort
is.
of quasi investment property. So after this Narrabeen purchase, what happened next?
So after that, I was actually originally looking a lot more in Sydney. So I worked in construction prior to the investment space. Still kind of similar, because I was basically building a lot of what we see, these brand new apartments or big areas. So I was looking around Sydney, and I was looking around areas, Western Sydney. Constitution Hill is one that comes to my mind, because I was working out there quite a bit. And it was just by, coincidence, I bumped in with Scott at the time, who's been previous on the show, and we got chatting about property and the whole positive gearing, where I was very much development focused, being in construction. And from there, it was then the possibility of using equity, taking it out of my Narrabeen place, which there was plenty of, and then investing in positively geared property and getting my head a little bit out of Sydney as well, because that was this kind of a lot of people say if that's all they know, they just look in that one place. I think if I had purchased in Sydney at the time, I would have done very well.
You would have?
Because it was 2012,
Hindsight's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
So I could have made some serious bucks, but not to be. I bought, what I thought was smart at the time, which was lower cost properties. I looked at Brisbane first.
Yep.
Bought in the western suburbs of Brisbane.
So that was your second purchase?
Second purchase.
So what did you buy there?
That one's actually a 1,100 square metre block.
Okay.
So it's in Ipswich area. And essentially for me, it wasn't much, of a house. It still isn't much, but it rents out to some young blokes. They pay $340 a week. I purchased that for $245 at the time, and it will be a property that I'll look to split straight up the middle. So not battle axe.
Yeah.
I'll split it straight up the middle.
So you still get 550 square metres each side. That's still a pretty reasonable block.
It's great.
Yeah.
And, the council allows it. So it's a good way to do it. And I've seen it happen further down the street. So that was one of my reasons when I can do this.
Is the property that's sitting on it right now probably an old 5-row type thing, is it?
Basically, high set.
Yeah. Is that sit on one left or right of it, or is it smack bang in the middle?
It's basically smack bang in the middle. So
you gotta get rid of it.
I will be getting rid of it.
Okay. But even then, $245 and a $340 a week rental, it's a reasonable yield, right? So
Doesn't
it's probably
cost me
putting money in
anything.
your pocket, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
Okay, that's cool. The third, so you bought that for $245. Has that moved much since then, do you think?
So I've actually taken equity out of that one.
Okay.
And rolled. I've just got to get them around the right way. I rolled that one into northern Brisbane, and I have to admit, that's one of the ones I've sold. So I've had eight at once, and then sold 2 down.
Okay, so you sold that one.
So this one I sold.
Okay, all right, that's cool.
So I've got red. So I've still got the Ipswich one.
You still got the Ipswich one. Okay.
So the one I took equity out of that one and rolled it into one in northern Brisbane.
Okay.
So that was actually a townhouse. It was very cheap at the time. I didn't do as well in that one, to be absolutely honest.
We're in northern Brisbane.
That one was in Brendale.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a good. It's a growing area in that sense.
Yeah.
But the townhouse, again, just due diligence with the strata and things like that. There was actually a levy that was coming in play, and it just never went away. So, and for me, as an investor, and I'm not saying it's right, but can't help but whenever, it doesn't matter how much the strata is, it gets in my head. So
you punted it.
I did.
Did you lose money on it, or you reckon you're sort of even Stevens?
Even. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, at least
maybe
you made
a little bit
call.
either side.
Yeah.
I made the call purely because, I had a wedding this year as well, so I needed to free up a little bit of cash for that.
Best investment you'll ever make?
Absolutely. And main reason I did it was because, again, following that, I purchased a duplex half. Again, very cheap. It was $190 and just great cash flow.
Whereabouts was that?
That was back in Western Brisbane, so Ipswich area.
Yeah, okay.
And again, punted that one.
Okay. So you bought those 2 in a row, you bought and sold both of them?
Bought those 3 very quickly.
Okay.
So the big house and then the 2 duplex and the townhouse.
Okay.
Bought those in quite quick succession. So within 6 months, so I just kind of...
When's this 2014-ish, is it?
14, 15,
14, 15. Okay. So after the duplex in West Brisbane, so Ipswich Way, what happened then?
Following that, so again, they've both been sold this year, but then I went into Tassie.
Okay.
So I started, and this is when I really started to understand it. So I probably went a bit quick into some of these ones. But Tassie, I started looking in the market, Launceston, for example. It was an interesting market. I saw Hobart, the way it was moving, and Lonnie was basically still quiet, not so much anymore. And I got myself a good dual income house there.
Okay.
So
in Launceston.
Launceston, yeah.
Which is a big city in...
What's the second in terms of in Tassie.
Tasmania.
But it's been a real winner.
So dual income, is that a duplex or is it like a main house with
it's
a
an up
studio?
and down.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's all separately metered, things like that. So
it's a genuine
dual income.
Okay.
Doubles, I have to pay double rates, things like that.
Okay.
But the rent covers it. So that's a $295 purchase, and it rents out for originally, it's just gone up. So now it's $470 a week total.
Okay.
So it's a very good.
And is it sort of like a 1-bedroom and a 3-bedroom, or is it
correct? 1 bedroom downstairs, 3-bedroom upstairs.
Do you get much tenant turnover, or is it pretty
Had
good?
a little bit of tenant turnover, surprisingly, in the 3-bedroom upstairs. The 1-bed has always been very stable. Generally, just get both times. One was a computer, and this guy, I assume he's in similar, like gaming computers again.
Yeah.
Very stable.
Yeah, just sits there playing computer games all day.
I think so.
Yeah.
But, he pays the rent. I never hear a peep, so I'm very happy.
Sounds pretty good.
And the upstairs, it's like a 1901 kind of house, which a lot of the Tassie ones are, but timber's not too bad in Tasmania. There's no pests.
Yeah. Oh, they're nice. It's a nice, visually they're quite nice, these sort of Tassie Launceston houses.
I think it's beautiful. Like, I've been there and seen it. It's a great place down there. Obviously, it is what I'd call regional.
Yeah.
But it's experienced some very good growth. And I think that has been on the back of Hobart really moving the last 18 months.
Well, Tasmania for capital growth's been a star performer right across Australia for the last 2 years or so.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say that if you didn't get into Tassie 2 or 3 years ago, you probably missed it. So
I think so. I think we're in the peak now. I'd be a little reluctant now to be saying unless we get an absolute steal, but to get into Tassie.
But I think you need to remember also is that Tassie didn't do anything for a long, long, long time.
Correct.
So it was really just a matter of catching up to where it should have been. So
totally agree.
It's just not like Tassie instantly become the best place to be. Over time, different factors have accelerated that growth, really condensed growth in the Tasmania market. But investors that got in there 10 years ago probably didn't have to do anything for 10 years. They probably would have been worth about the same amount of money. So if you bought at the wrong time, you probably hurt quite a lot holding Tasmania. Probably proportionally, it's not as significant as what you get in the other capital cities in Hobart. But I think you've missed Tassie if you're thinking about Tassie right now. That's one of the.
I would think so.
Yeah, that's one of the one of the things that listening to this podcast, you want to be thinking about. I don't like to use the term hotspots, but you need to be finding those locations which are going to grow and accelerate before anyone else does. So you ride that wave.
Absolutely,
that's the secret. So after this dual income property in Launceston in Tassie, what happened then?
Back up to Brisbane again, South Brisbane. So in that kind of Logan area, and just a standard. That one is really just a standard 650 square block, single brick, and that was a 311,000 purchase.
Okay, and that was 2000.
That would have been 2016.
16. Okay.
Yeah.
And what sort of rent are you getting on that?
That one now it's $370 a week.
Okay, so all your properties are world averaged, right? In terms
they're good in terms
of the yield.
They're very good, and that was the main thing I was looking for. And following that, I actually got another one in a very similar area.
Okay.
South Brisbane again.
Which suburb?
The first one was Crestmead.
Yep.
Second one I bought in Slacks Creek.
Okay, Slacks Creek. Cool. So pretty much cookie cutter place.
Yeah.
How much? About 320, 330-ish?
That one was bare. It was 318.
318. Okay. And similar sort of rent?
Exactly. Yeah.
370. Okay.
Yeah.
Again.
And
I'll ask you in a second what sort of structure you're buying these in. So one more property is there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Back to Tassie.
Back to Tassie again?
Yeah, I got another one, a little one in Launceston, so I only had a little bit left over. So I really like the market there. So I just got it as a little 3-bedder. Launceston, greater Launceston, this one a little bit further out.
Okay.
But it was only 260,000.
For a house?
For a house, yeah.
Okay, great.
And that one rents now for 330.
330. So total value of your portfolio now, what would it be?
Oh, good question.
Yeah. Really trying to add it up. But this is what your purchase pricing. So, you would have expected some capital growth over
absolutely.
A period of time.
One thing with a lot of these is, and I can explain it, going back to that very first property of being locked out. So even that 30% guarantor has actually now played its part on me. So I'm finding, so that was all within, I haven't purchased since mid 2016.
Okay.
Have been locked out.
2 years, you haven't been able to do anything, 2 and a bit years.
I've been really locked out, and it's really comes down that guarantor, which is a lot of more brokers. I've spoken to a few over time, and they really have, said, can't do it. So
yeah, you've got to try and break that cycle at some point. But unless you're just satisfied with what you got now, why are you investing in property, by the way? Is it just a long-term wealth play for you?
For me, it is. Like, I'm 33 years old, and for me, I see there's going to be many more property cycles. I think everyone reads or hears about the standard 10 to 12 years. We see that Australian properties double. But I still see, for me, there's plenty of other cycles. I'll get this growth. In time, it may be an opportunity to come back and buy into an area. I'll go like Narrabeen, something like that. But it's just a good buy and hold. It's really low maintenance for me. They're all very positively geared. I really set and forget. And when you do get the odd water heater, everything that pops up.
It comes with the territory, right? There's always headaches in property.
Exactly. But as long as you budget for it, for me, it's a great just investment play. And I do see it as that opportunity to have a comfortable retirement.
So you bought all these by yourself, or did you work with a buyer's agent?
I worked with a buyer. Well, actually worked with Scott from Rethink in the very first ones.
Yeah.
So we went there, and he basically, this was probably just a little bit previous to once we all got going, and we worked together. And he was telling me what he was doing, and he told me about his properties in Port Macquarie and a few others like that were very positive geared, and I was just, kind of gobsmacked. I went, oh wow, so you actually can do it, because I'd only ever really known Sydney.
Yeah.
Delving out of that Sydney market and realising there was those opportunity for high cash flow, it really struck me as the right thing. And then knowing that it also had a better implication, not for everyone, but in terms of getting further lending, it was allowed me to purchase more properties, because the banks, not as much now, but they were more tolerant. Their lending was a little bit easier, and they saw, well, you're returning a profit, and gave me just that little bit more, than opposed to having that negatively style property.
So you working in construction now, you work with Rethink Investing as in property acquisition. So you're the guy that buys properties. Is that just because you got a passion for it, you got a love for it? You must be pretty good at it. Why have you turned that into a job?
Well, the construction side, not that everyone can see my hands here, but I've got computer hands. I never actually touched any tools.
Yeah.
But for me, I was working as an analyst, so I was doing more sales analytics with the construction side on a national level, working with major infrastructure projects. So getting into it was pretty easy transition, because it was just working from, I suppose, a different viewpoint. So rather than starting from the build, I'm now looking at the end product. With that said and done, though, I suppose it's more so just a passion, and just being able to set up for that future for me is why I really, I suppose, wanted to learn more, get more into it, and help others to hopefully achieve the same goals.
So which sort of markets, I'll try and give your secrets away if you want to let us know, but what markets are you buying in right now? What sort of assets are of interest
Secrets.
to you?
For me, we're doing like a mix, like more so like we're doing a little bit more commercial, which has been an interesting one. But residential wise, Southeast Queensland for me is still the market that I'm looking at. It makes sense in terms of affordability. People will always come and ask me, Sydney, Melbourne, they're great markets. There's something that I look to be involved in again, but they're just overcooked in terms of that affordability level, and returns wise from a positive sense, they're not there. So Southeast Queensland is a good buying opportunity. It's very much a growing market in that sense, and it just hasn't followed Sydney or Melbourne. It really has, I suppose, go back to GFC time. We're still picking up properties around that 2009 price, and there's been a few things that affected that. One, GFC, two, the floods in 2011, and it's interstate migration levels are there at record. So I really like that area.
So you think it's going to kick into gear pretty soon, Brizzy?
I think so. Well, I'm starting to see, depends which way you look at it, from that top level, or when you get to separate it into freestanding houses or units, things like that. Units, I think most of us know it's not the best market there for units right now. Bit of oversupply. But in terms of that freestanding level, it's great. There's great buying opportunity, big blocks of land, and big thing, affordability. So I really do think it will kick into gear, and we're starting to see properties that we were buying for $290 this time last year, they're $330, $335, $340. So it is really starting to step up. Any
particular areas you're sort of personally in sort of your Ipswich and your Logans? You went in and out of North Brisbane. Which parts of Brisbane do you like the most?
Me personally, I'll be in the market again soon. I like Northern Brisbane. I do like it. I like around that Callanga, I like that Rothwell, all through that train line area. It's affordable, good market. I think you got a good owner-occupied base there as well, which I think is desirable. Southern Brisbane for a good buy, really good return. You don't get the same return in terms of positive cash flow in the north. So north is a little bit less, but I think probably a long-term better grower. But that Southern Brisbane market, and that isn't around that Logan Centre. So you got the big Springwood Development Master Plan all through there. Yeah. So there's lots of big things in and around those suburbs that I like.
You've mentioned I'm sort of in all those markets personally. So Springwood, Logan, North Brisbane, Callanga.
Well, the Ipswich market I like as well.
I'm not in Ipswich though, so
There I'd look for a bigger block of land personally, because I do think there's opportunity, depending how you split it up, but it is a buy, hold. It's not something I think a lot of people overestimate, I suppose, or underestimate, should I say. The development side, doing that straight away for a quick return. It's something you really need to know.
So that belt around sort of Cullinga, that train line, which is now in that terminates in Kippering. And that's all been rezoned through Kippering. Yeah. I know a lot of people have bought up there, but that whole new Sunshine Coast University is around Cullinga, Petrie,
they're doing an expansion through there, yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge amount of work and opportunities for investment going there. So a lot of investors are chasing that as well, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of are, and it's no secret. It's just a matter of finding the right properties. There is flood zoning through there. Well, Southeast Queensland does have that and is prone to it, but just knowing those right little pockets to buy in, staying away from the busier streets, things like that. Yeah, fantastic buying opportunity. And that's something I'd personally want back in my portfolio. But for me, my focus is houses, freestanding houses. I will get into commercial, but with my lending, it's a bit tough.
Yeah, well, these things all swinging around about it might be tight, and it is tight to get funding now. It's not always going to be that way. I think the world has changed forever in terms of serviceability, but it will become a lot less restrictive for people to secure finance moving forward. But that said, you got to get your house in order. You got to make sure that you can be the best borrower you possibly can be, and that's making sure that you present yourself in the best possible way to lenders.
Yeah, correct.
That's cool. And so when do you think you'll be back in the market? You got a time frame?
Yeah, I think hopefully early next year. Okay. I'm lucky enough to be heading to France at Christmas time.
Sounds all right.
Yeah, my wife's French, so I get the nice. Might be even buying something over there one day. Who knows?
You can buy yourself a chateau in the country for about $100,000, can't you?
That's a joke. What you can get with a little bit of money over there.
Yeah.
So
where in France is she from?
She's from a place called Amiens, which is the.
I know Amiens.
Yeah,
I was there this year.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, it's Amiens. It's right on the Somme.
Yep,
yeah,
all the World War I site.
Yeah, near Albert and
exactly.
Villers-Bretonneux, which is really famous. So
I'm guessing you also ventured to Champagne as well.
I've been there, yeah. I've spent a bit of time in France, but Amiens cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's a good town.
Yeah, that's where they live, and they run a transport company up there. So
okay.
Yeah, so we'll be there, but we're going to the Alps for Christmas, which will be quite nice.
Alps is good. Yeah,
never been there.
I spent a Christmas Eve or Christmas? I remember it was Christmas. I think it was Christmas Eve in Val d'Isere, which is down the way. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, drinking the worst wine known to man. That was a horrible hangover. That's all I remember about that. But, that's cool. It's a nice. It's France in Christmas is.
Yeah, I've never done the white.
Oh, they do it well. They do it well.
Yeah, I'm just having a turkey instead of salmon or something on the beach. So it'll be interesting.
Cool. Do you sort of get into your World War I battlefield stuff? Have you been out? Have you been to France before? Never been?
Yeah, I've actually been a couple. Yeah. I've been a couple of times with my wife, and before that, no, I've actually been on rugby tour there, but that's about it. That was a different experience again. Yeah, I got to go through Pozières and those kind of areas, and it was really real eye opener. Like I think for anyone that hasn't seen it, it's an absolute must for an Australian. You don't realise there's Australian flags hanging in the pubs, and you get a free beer as well. So.
Well, if you head up to places like Bullecourt and if you even go up further north into Ypres and into the Ypres salient, I don't know if you've been up there, but it's really worth checking out. I love the Aussies up there as well. It's not very far though. It's like literally 50, 80 kilometres away, right?
In Europe, it feels like they always say everything's so far. They haven't been to Australia.
I know. It's very close. So that's cool. So you think you might pick up some French property? Amiens, I didn't look at property when I was out there, but
no, potentially. You know, I think if the option's there for me to purchase one day, I think it would be, they talk about diversifying, but it's a whole new market to learn.
What's so your French wife? So you're now married. What's do you guys talk about property? Like the French view of property versus Australian view of property is probably a bit different, right? It
is a bit different.
As obsessed with it as we are?
Yes and no. Like their parents have invested, but like I noticed that they do have like the holiday houses, like things like that, little chateaus, but it's a lot different. But their returns, like they're working. I don't know if it's exactly right, but they're working on their yields are basically break even, like and they were saying that was good, and they get their 1% or 2% growth. And I'll tell them about Australia, what it happens here, and they're just blown away. So I don't think it is as property mad, what we are.
Oh, well, they're mad in other ways, the French, you know,
Absolutely.
in a good way. I like the French. They're mad about their food in particular.
Oh, yeah, that's been a real opener.
Yeah, they do it well. You know, I love spending time in France. So enjoy. Let us know how you get on when you get back with buying this next property.
Thank you.
And you didn't really give too much away in terms of the property acquisition stuff. I didn't press you too hard on it. So maybe let's get you back in the studio. I'll give you a bit of a hard time about that.
I'm more than happy to.
All right. I'll turn it up a bit. I've been quite soft on you, but thanks for sharing your property journey. It's I think your portfolio is pretty typical for someone who knows what they're doing. You know, it's probably the way I'd
I think it's fairly standard.
Yeah.
I would like to have been a bit bigger, but like I mentioned, there are limitations that I've had with lending, getting married this year, things. I wouldn't say it's a limitation, but you know, in terms of
you can edit that out, sorry, Sam.
in terms of just that journey.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I want to maintain. I really like that that Ipswich style one and build bigger, better portfolio in that sense, but keeping it as low maintenance as possible.
Bet you wish you bought 3 or 4 of those narrowband places when you could have at 600 grand.
Oh God, if only. It would have been good.
Which I bought narrowband 600 grand. That's cheap. You know, I know exactly where you are as well.
Well, there's one house, if you know the Wakehurst Parkway, that I was very close to buying. It was right on the entry of Wakehurst Parkway coming into Narrabeen.
Yeah,
it was a massive block, 1,000 square metres. And
if you're going north on the left.
So if I'm to head north on the left-hand side, and it was that one just before you head up to Eleanor, I don't know what the street's called. It was 737,000, which is just a bit much at the time. And it's only just recently I've seen it because I've always wanted to do it. And someone's finally split it into 2 and they would make a very pretty penny.
It doesn't flood there though? Is it a flood zone? It's like sometimes what's that lake called?
Narrabeen Lake. It is a flood zone, but unlike Brisbane and those kind of markets, I feel the Sydney siders just don't really pay as much attention to the flood zones. Like I know Narrabeen, the whole of Northern Beaches sits in a lot of flood zoning and it just doesn't. I'm not saying it's good, but it doesn't seem to have the same influence that like a Brisbane, the floods are very different.
What's going on with those properties? I've got to wind up, but what's going on with those properties along the Coleroy belt, you know, that sit right on the water? Are they all being washed away yet, or they're trying to reclaim them all and turn into parkland, I think, aren't they?
The council did attempt to buy a few of those back, but the cost is just too much. I know they're having troubles with insurance problems there because they wanted the council to put the seawall in or their own rock wall, not at their expense. But if you still walk along there from Coleroy to Narrabeen, you'll still see a number of those front yards or backyards are still part of the ocean now. And I think the only one that survived it was Desi Hasler's place, actually. He put and spent the big money on putting the rock wall in the seawall.
The biggest problem is was it the sea deck, that big, it's probably 15, 20 stories, that thing right on the water. It's called the sea deck? Flight deck. Flight deck. Yeah, that's got to get knocked down at some point.
It would have to. I don't know how it got through back in the day, but
I think a yellow envelope, no doubt. Yeah. Anyway, thanks, Rob. I really enjoyed it. Keep it up, mate. Let us know how you get on with this next purchase. We'll check in and appreciate you sharing your story.
No, thank you.
Remember to check out smartpropertyinvestment.com.au if you want to come on the show and have a chat with us about what you're doing, whether you're thinking about investing, just purchased your first investment property, you've got a massive portfolio. We like to share everyone's story. So get in touch with the team, editor at smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. If you like what we're doing, just press the subscribe button. It should be there somewhere wherever you're listening to this right now. If you want to any questions at all to Rob or about this podcast, editor at smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. We're going to do a Q&A session soon, so we'll make sure we get your question answered live on air. We'll be back again next time. Until then, bye-bye.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.